over here where you are. All right, you ready, Mom? Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm actually Wyn and Myrtle's second son, and the oldest son, Rhys, is actually in South Carolina. Couldn't make it today because his wife, Kari, is having some issues with her back, and we met with a specialist this morning, so that's why Rhys couldn't be here today. But on behalf of our family, my older sister Rhiannon, younger brother Warren, would like to all welcome you and thank you for coming to honor our father, Wyndham Morgan John. And I thought I'd give you a little rundown of the way we thought this should go. And basically, what we wanted to do is I'll set the agenda, then I'll hand it over to Warren, and he's going to say a few words. And then Warren will hand it back to me, and I'll say a few words, maybe actually a few more than that. But then what we really wanted to culminate toward is having a gin and tonic toast in honor of my dad, and play the Welsh national anthem, and send him on his merry way. And then after the Welsh national anthem, we thought that we would open it up to anyone in the audience who wanted to share thoughts, a few words, or whatever. So after the music, we'll basically, I think this is a wireless mic, so whoever wants to jump up first, I'll hand off the mic, and then you can hand it off to whoever next in line. So, without further ado, I think it's time to introduce Warren. Here you go. Yep, just talk.
Well, as Owen said, I'm the youngest one out of the four of us, and I know most of all of you guys. And let me see. And not only that, my dad was very good and very friendly and funny, because he even helped me pack on some of my trips, which I did. And not only that, he even helped me raise money for vacations as well. And I'm going to turn it back to Owen.
So now the wait staff is dropping off gin and tonics for any and all who would like one. And at the end, you can sip on it as we're chatting, and at the end, hopefully you've got one last gulp for the toast.
I know, I had to.
So it was back in mid-July, and my wife Chris and I, we were getting ready to go to Florida. And we thought that before we went, we should make a point to go see my mom and dad. And so we arranged to go to Black Cow in St. Paul, which was, one of their favorite haunts. And we met a number of you guys there on Saturday or Sunday mornings. And, it was one of their favorite brunch spots. So we went there and ordered Bloody Marys, had bacon and eggs, had big brunch, great time, and that was Sunday morning. So Chris and I went to Florida. On Tuesday, we found out that my dad had been admitted to the hospital. And after a day or two, it seemed that things weren't really going to get any better. And so Chris and I flew back to Minnesota on the Saturday. So at the hospital, my sister Rhiannon, she showed me a CAT scan of, or MRI, sorry, of my dad's neck. And one side of his spinal canal, you could see, was totally clear. and then the other side was all cloudy. And, you know, it was indicative of this raging infection. And, you know, Rhiannon's the medical doctor in the family, and she said, you know, while that might have been the reason that he was admitted to hospital, it wasn't something that just came on in the last couple of days. You know, that had been going on for some time, totally unbeknownst to any of us. So, you know, I'm definitely not a doctor, but I could clearly see that this wasn't good. You know, and in fact, intense neurosurgical procedure would have been the only thing that possibly could have helped him. And, you know, that would have been tough for a young person, but for someone who was 93, it just wasn't going to happen. So at the time, you know, St. John's Hospital was limiting visitors to just 2 people in the room at a time. And my brother Rhys and I were spending time with them on Saturday, and we arranged to come back on the Sunday to watch Wales versus Italy in the Euro 2021 soccer tournament. So as I was leaving, I asked my dad, you know, if he needed anything, wanted me to pick him up anything when I came the next day. He's like, well, maybe some champagne. So we okayed that with Rhiannon, and we bought a nice bottle of French champagne, which we uncorked at halftime and, you know, polished it off the second half of the game. Rhys and me, and especially my dad, all thoroughly enjoyed that. And then at some point, Chris said to me, did you say what you want to say? And shortly thereafter, I noticed a text from my son Dylan that said, did you say everything you needed to say? And the truth is, actually, no, I didn't get to say that, but if I had had the chance, here's what I would have told him. I would have told him how much I respect him as a man. He was a great father to all of us and a great role model. At work and in my personal life, many times over the years, I found myself thinking, what would my dad do? And I tried to live up to his example. For being honest, being fair, and not taking advantage of a situation or of anyone else involved. One thing he did take advantage of was opportunity. I would have told him that I think it was a gutsy thing to move, to take a chance and move his family to the USA. And I think my mother deserves a lot of credit for this as well. But without a doubt, coming to America was the single most important and beneficial event for our whole family. But most of all, I'd tell him how happy I am that he lived long enough to see his family and all his children grow up. You know, I, for one, think of myself as kind of a late bloomer. But even more than me, I'm so pleased he got to see my kids, as well as Rhiannon and Rhys's children, and also even his great-grandchildren. I'm just so happy that he got to meet them and that they got to meet and enjoy spending time with him too. And I know Rhiannon, Rhys, and Warren, they all feel the same way. So as it happened, I never got the chance to say any of that to him directly. But part of the reason why is that when we were at the hospital sipping champagne, I was worried that if I was to start saying all these things to him, I feared that he'd turn and look at me and go, what? And wonder what the hell I was talking about. And then suddenly it would occur to him that I knew he wasn't going to make it. And I didn't want to be the one to break that news to him. Even the night he died, I didn't expect it. I felt for sure we'd have a couple more days to tell him anything I wanted to say. It seems crazy to think about it, But it was exactly 2 weeks after that Sunday morning that Chris and I had brunch with my dad and mom. Then my dad passed away. Since that time, I've thought about it if it really matters. Would it have made a difference to him? I don't really think so. I think my dad knew how I felt about him. We shared exactly the same views about politics, and we'd talk on and on and on about it. We'd talk about the latest best entertainment to have on Netflix and BritBox, and we'd talk about careers and business ideas. He knew I valued his opinions, and he knew that I enjoyed his company. So does it matter to me? Is it? No, not really. It would have been nice to have it in the official record, but I'm totally content with the situation. What I keep coming back to is that I'm 60 years old. If I were to live as long as my father, I'd have another 33 years to look forward to and enjoy. And I only hope that I get to be so lucky as my dad. Now, my dad was an American citizen, but first and foremost, he was a Welshman. And like all Welshmen, my dad was crazy about rugby. And when Wales, the Welsh national team, play at Cardiff Arms Park, you get 40,000 Welsh fans singing the national anthem. And that happens just before the Welsh national rugby team takes to the field. So we're going to sort of share that experience with you and play the Welsh national anthem. I know some people thought the music was a little loud, but it's going to get louder. And before we do that, I'm going to teach you a Welsh phrase. And it goes pretty easy. It's cas gan dawel. So cas gan dawel. And in Welsh, that means sleep peacefully. So whether you knew him by Taid, by Wyn, or by Dad, please join me in saying cas gan dawel to my dad.
Cas gan dawel.
Thank you. I thought you. Music?
So we don't break this.
No, I thought. Okay, so let's try it again this time together. 1, 2, 3. Cast and now. Cheers. So who would like the mic next? Anyone?
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Megan. I'm one of Taid's granddaughters. And for me, one of the special memories is, so Taid is Welsh for grandfather, but the actual term is Taid. But Taid being Taid who he is, he didn't want to be referred to as a detergent. So he was always Taid, T-A-I-G to us. And especially in our very British Welsh family, having place cards and name cards was always very important at any dinner. And I remember one of the times he said, Megan, it's not Taig, it's Taig. It was T-A-I-G. And I was probably 5, 6 years old trying to scribble this in Crayolas. So to my Taig, he will always be. I can keep going.
Hello, I'm Wyndham John, I guess junior. But we don't really do that, so it's just Wyndham John. And I just wanted to say that I'm very proud to be able to keep the name Wyndham John alive within the family. It's been awesome growing up with the name. People don't know how to view it whenever they first see it, so you always get a continued conversation based off that, and it's been really helpful. So besides that, I just can say that I love Taid, and I'm honored to be his grandson, and cheers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's David Coslet, and I work with Wyn in engineering at 3M, and we're also good friends. In fact, I think you have to excuse a 90-year-old age memory, but I think they were here when we came, and they welcomed us to the US. We came like a lot of people from the UK. He was a great guy. His wife was wonderful. We played a lot of bridge together. We had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of meals. And God bless him, wherever he is.
Good evening. My name is Gordon Evans, and I've known Wyn for over 50 years, ever since he joined 3M in the UK. And David was there, David Coslet, and Wyn used to work for the Atomic Energy Authority in the UK. And so when he came there, we used to tease him, say, did he glow in the dark? And his response was, only on moonlight nights. Yeah. My life had been fairly similar to Wyn's. We grew up 15 miles apart in Carmarthenshire, West Wales. Wyn lived in Carmarthen, I lived in a place called Ammanford. He was in the rural part of Wales, beautiful countryside. I lived in the industrial part, full of coal mines, tin plate works, furnaces, and so forth. And Wyn was 18 months older than I was, but we went to similar schools together, junior schools, where you sat for the 11+ examination, and that determined your future life, whether you went to grammar schools or took chances on what was available. And we grew up playing cricket, soccer, and rugby. You've heard a little bit about the rugby. That was like a religion in Wales. Everybody played rugby and did through senior life as well. We both served in the British services. Wyn was in the Royal Air Force, served in the Canal Zone. I was in the British Army, in the Royal Engineers, and also was in the Canal Zone, but at different times. And there was a lot of action going on there at the time in Palestine and Greece and Cyprus and a little place called Eritrea. And coming out of the army, I'd grown up in coal mining. My father was a coal miner, and that was my future too. I wanted to become a mining engineer. Coming out of the army, I saw this little company, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. And I thought, I know a little bit about mining, maybe they'll give me a job. And turned up for an appointment, and they said, well, we do adhesives and scotch lights and magnetic tape. I said, well, I don't know anything about any of that. And they said, well, we'll give you a 3 months trial. And 39 years later, I was still on trial. Wyn and I worked together on many projects in the UK, and we must have done all right because Graham eventually moved both of us to the US here. And I remember when we came, just like Wyn's experience, one of the things that people said to me, well, you know, we have winter here, you've got to have a car with a good set of tires, a good battery, jumper cables, a can of ether that you can blow into the carburetor when they don't start. And we thought, my God, what are we landing here for? In the outer zone. So we worked initially on a project for 3M subsidiaries, international subsidiaries, and so there was some traveling involved, and I remember Wyn telling me it's all at company expense, enjoy it. In return, we retired eventually, and I got involved with a group called SCORE, and we got Wyn into that too. And what we were doing was counseling small businesses on engineering, manufacturing plans, business plans. So we had a great time doing that, and I think we did some good too. Another thing that Wyn started was, and this is really Austin Evans, who's over there, started. Austin invited us all out to his place on the Minnetonka, all the Welsh expatriates that he could find. And so we had a wonderful time, got to meet a lot of different people, and Wyn picked up on that and started arranging monthly luncheons around the Twin Cities. So he called himself the shepherd, or in Welsh, a beguile. And Myrtle was a beguiless. And we were the lambs or the sheep, the defaid or Owen. This also expanded. We had the idea that we should meet on Saturday mornings at the Black Dog Cafe in the St. Paul Market, and we did that up until very recently. Had a great time too. In addition to being a great husband, father, grandpa, that key we say in Welsh, Wyn was a very highly respected engineer in 3M, and he did engineering manager, and he did exceptional efforts in expanding 3M's growth and also their profitability, and both in the UK, in the US, and in our foreign subsidiary. He will be greatly missed by family and all his friends. condolences to the family.
Hey everyone, for those who don't know me, I'm Colin. I'm Rhys's youngest son. Definitely wishes he could be there, but it's an unfortunate situation with my mother's back. But hopefully in the next couple weeks he can come up and see everybody. But one thing I've always noticed about Taid, and something that I've wanted to emulate in my life, is just sheer selflessness. I was reading his obituary and two things struck out to me. The first was that he resigned from the British Atomic Energy Commission because he wanted his engineering talents, which were immense. I remember Taid's helped me with my homework before and remembered it like years later. I'm like, I don't even know how to do this, and I was in class last week. I don't remember this. And he remembered it and picked it up. But he wanted his engineering talents used for good and not the worse off for mankind. And that's one example of his selflessness. And the other was reading on his mayoral time at the mayor of Lake Elmo, and just thought the range of going from an engineer to being mayor of a town was incredible. I think he emulated selflessness during that, and resigning from that post whenever my mom got sick was something that, like, selflessness is just kind of oozed out of him. And I think that one thing that I always remember, if I something I want to emulate in my life, is if I'm a tenth of the person that Wyndham John was and Taid was, and I'll always remember it being, then I think I'll come out somewhere on the right side of life. But nice cheers to Wyn and my Taid, and appreciate everybody being here.
That's all.
Myrtle saying, what's he doing up there? Tom Wilder. I was, the way I got introduced to the John family was, first day of college, well, actually, welcome week at University of Minnesota, I met Rhys. And I was probably the reason Rhys had to transfer to a different school. But through Rhys, I met the entire John family, Owen, Rhiannon, Warren, yeah, amazing family. And then I read this obituary the other day, and I thought, it blew me away. Like, if I was like 1/1000 of that in my life, I'd be, happy. But I still remember meeting Wyn for the first time. Wyn John, big hand, Stilton cheese, always a big smile on Myrtle, and so welcoming to me, even though I might have been not the greatest freshman, sophomore, junior year influence on their one son, who ended up great, but not because of me. So, Wyn, I didn't have that many interactions with him because of, I was a college roommate of one of the sons, but always impressed. Well, here's one thing. Rhys, okay, so he can't beat her. He played rugby. He said, hey Tom, this is freshman year. Let's go out for the rugby team. I could barely spell it, okay, much less know the game. But I did, I said, okay, let's do it. And there was a rugby club at the University of Minnesota. And I played that fall, had a blast, quite a bit of beer, and but I never did learn the rules. So, here's to me.
As you know, many of you know that Myrtle and Wyn have been living at the Waters, and I think there's about 14 of us from there that are here to express our condolences to Myrtle and the family. We've met some of you when he was in the hospital, and it's a joy to be here. Yes, a joy, but it's a sad joy. Now, can you imagine that? They are the kind of people that old people like to share their lives with in these last years. And I had a special fun or attraction because I lived in England for 6 months in studying. But would you know that I did not realize that there was such a strong feeling about Wales and England, and I'm beginning to learn that. And that's sort of like the Swedes and Norwegians in Minnesota.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was going to say most of us are hard of hearing. Most of us are hard of hearing.
Well, thanks everybody. Now we're gonna start loud music.
Get down one day.
Yeah.
Okay.